Nothing else, it is the greatest name, and at least it deserves us looking deeper into it. If you've never studied the Bible, if you've never tried to learn more about Jesus, his name deserves some type of research, some type of time spent to figure it out, and what it applies and what it means to you. See, we know what the world says, we know what people say, but what about you? Who do you say he is? Is your belief on Jesus based on what parents, grandparents, family, roommates, or anyone else thinks, or is it based on your convictions? What you have found, what you have researched? Is he Lord? Which is ultimately what Christ really means. It's really ultimately his name. That was all he ever intended his name to mean. That was it. Not teacher, not friend, Lord. Asking him to be anything else is like asking an iPhone charger to charge an Android. That's not what it was made for. Jesus was made to be Lord. And there's other names for him, biblical names that we like, but if he's not Lord within these names, it means nothing. If you want to call him author and perfecter, that's fine. Let him author and let him perfect. If you want to call him mighty counselor, great. Then let him counsel and do what he says. Amen. If you want to call him great physician, then don't ignore the physical. You see, if he's not Lord, the rest of these names lose their power. And yet his name is why you can change yours. Yes. I remember in Gainesville, a brother came up to a couple of us in the ministry, and he was from China, and he was trying to decide if he was going to go back to China or stay in America long term. And he was telling us he had this predicament. He said, well, you see, my issue here is that if I stay, I need to change my name. I go, you have to change it? He's like, yeah, I have to change my name. I need an American name. I can't stay here. My name's just too complicated. It wouldn't work. It would confuse people. I'm like, okay, all right. And so he actually let us choose what his name would end up being. Wow. And we chose Justice. Wow. I felt pretty good about that. But you see, for him, if he chose to stay, his name had to change. Now, if he left, it didn't. If you choose that Jesus is Lord, your name, your life needs to change. Yes. It needs to change. Point number 2 is choice. Come on. Choice. Verse 17, Jesus replied, "Blessed are you, Simon, son of Jonah, for this was not revealed to you by man, but by my Father in heaven. And I tell you that you are Peter." Oh wait, so which one is he though? Is he Simon or is he Peter? I mean, even earlier, the writer calls him Simon Peter. So which one is he? Is he changing his name right here, or is it, what's happening? Jesus isn't changing Peter's name here. He's giving him the choice of a new name, the goal, the possibility. He's letting him know this is what you are, but this is what you can become. Not in and of yourself, but what I want to help you to become. So he called him Simon, he called him many things. Now, what do these names mean? Let's talk about these names real quick. You have Simon, and you have Peter. Simon means shifting or deceptive sands, among many things, but we'll use this for the sake of what it produces. Shifting or deceptive sands. And Peter means part of a rock. It doesn't mean rock, it means part of a rock. See, in choosing a name, what I want you to see here, and I think the point of this all, and the real choice that you're making is that in choosing a name, what Simon was really choosing was what character he wanted to have. Because that's what these names represented. In the Bible, almost always, your name had something to do with a character trait. That name was given based on a character trait. In fact, the name or the word name comes from a name. One of the sons of Noah, his name is Shem, which means marked. And so a name meant what you were marked with. What marked you, and that mark came from your character, your actions, the things you did, the way you carried yourself. That became your name. Kind of like Native Americans, you know, like what they did is what they name. I don't have any funny ideas of crazy names like that. But anyways, frog catcher or something like that. So what you did, your character brought about your name. Now, when it comes to Simon and Peter, when it comes to shifting deceptive sands or part of a rock, there are character traits associated with that. For Simon, or sand, what's associated with that, and you can tell if you read the story of Simon or of Peter, you know these things to be true. Insecurity, impulsive, impatient, inconsistent, unstable, self-centered, weak-willed, unreliable, weak, or empty. Are some character traits. Or then you have Peter, rock. strength, decisive, trustworthy, mature, reliable, fearless, consistent, disciplined, fulfilled. Now I know that when we hear those two lists, if we're given the choice of which name to choose, we would obviously say, I'll take Peter, please. I'll take Rock. Why would I choose inconsistency or immaturity? And yet, isn't that what we so often on a daily basis end up doing? Which is why we love Peter, right? We love Peter because he's so much like us. Because although we know what we want to be, we fall short so often. And we lose our patience, and we lose our temper, and we're inconsistent, and yet the goal is still set before you. The choice is still set before you. We're not forced to do anything. We're not forced to act in any sort of way, and that really is one of, if not the greatest gift that God has given us outside of Jesus Christ, is free will, choice, to do whatever we want, to be whoever we want to be. And we have so much reason to be great people in the name of Jesus. What describes you? Sand or rock? Simon or Peter? And how often are you choosing one or the other? You see, growth, change, doesn't just happen. Too often I think we can assume, well, I'll pray and then God will change me. And I'll pray a whole lot more and then God will change me. And I just got to keep praying God's going to change me. Please pray for God to change you. But I don't think that's how God works. God doesn't just say, okay, here. We would call that being spoiling your child. If everything they asked for, you gave them. Now, it's not because he doesn't love us, and it's not because he doesn't want our character to change. It's not because he doesn't want us to go from sand to rock, from Simon to Peter. It's just the way he does it is the way that it will last most. You see, someone like Saul in the Old Testament, God changed his heart. He just changed it. And it didn't last. Someone like David developed his heart. And it lasted. You see, this life change doesn't just happen because you ask God for it. It doesn't just hand it out. You can't just pray, you've got to push. An example of this, I mentioned Noah, I mentioned his son Shem, is, who's here seen Evan Almighty? Evan Almighty. So it's a story about Noah in modern times. Bruce Almighty was the first one, Evan Almighty was the second one. And there's a conversation here about character. And choice comes into it. I want you to see how choice plays into the character that we end up developing.
Sounds like an opportunity. Let me ask you something. If someone prays for patience, you think God gives them patience? Or does he give them the opportunity to be patient? If they prayed for courage, does God give them courage, or does he give them opportunity to be courageous? If someone prayed for the family, do you think God's absent with warm, fuzzy feelings? Or does he give them opportunities to love each other? I got one. A lot of people are scared.
Opportunities is what God gives us. Amen. Opportunities to develop our character. If you want to be strong-willed, God's going to give you a situation that challenges your will. If you want to be patient, there's probably going to be someone around you who annoys you. And isn't that so often what happens? We say, God, please make me more humble. Please make me more humble. And then right after that, there's someone who's just like, you know, you're not really that good at that thing you think you're good at. Like, what? That's not what I... Yes, that is what you asked for. That is what you asked for. He's developing. He's molding you. He's molding us. You see, the things that are being placed in your life will either develop or they will destroy your character. You choose. You choose. In James chapter 1, the New Living Translation says, for when your faith is tested, your endurance has a chance to grow. So let it grow. For when your endurance is fully developed, you will be strong in character and ready for anything. Guys, with the choices we have to make, sometimes we'll fall. Sometimes we'll go back to Simon. We see that up and down roller coaster of Simon, but there was the eventual choice. Here's something that I love about Simon that I hope we can grasp in this choice we get. Make new mistakes. Make new mistakes. Don't make the same mistakes. Don't fall into the same things that reap the same result. Make new mistakes. Make new choices. Yes, we'll mess up. No, we won't be perfect. But at least there'll be new mess-ups. And there'll be, new understanding that we'll at least learn, we'll at least grow. Make new mistakes.
Yes.
We would be concerned if our children did not make new mistakes. If they kept tripping, if they kept falling, if they kept bumping into things. We need to learn and we need to grow. Please make new mistakes.
Yes.
Jesus was, I don't want you to just make mistakes, I want you to choose right. Just we're going to at least let them be new ones. You see, Jesus was offering Peter and is offering us a goal. A goal. Change happens along the way. You've got to walk. You've got to get up. You've got to stand up to the challenges that are set before you. You see, because challenges will come. You will be tested. Point number 3, challenge. On our road to change, to a new name, there will be challenges as there were with Peter. You have situations where Jesus tells Peter, Satan is trying to sift you like wheat. There are challenges. Satan is coming. He doesn't want us to have a new name in 2013. He wants us to be the same name of 2012. Same character, same lifestyle, same mistakes. New name is coming, but challenges will face you. I want to leave you with 2 challenges that you'll face as you leave this building. 2 challenges that all come back to character. And that's self and settle. Self and settle. What do I mean by self? What was the challenge of self? The personal advancement with little to no godly direction. Letting you decide what you does all the time. Having no guidance, no